Hi, my name is Kim Dodd. I'm the Executive Director of Trinity CHANGE, and we do supported living for people with disabilities who choose to live in their own homes in the community instead of in an institutional setting, anything from a group home to a developmental center. And we're operating in the beautiful state of California, which has been a challenge in the past few years because of some of the different changes in the state budget. It's a very different world than it was even 10 years ago as far as state-funded services for folks who are the vulnerable populations of California. And we are now in a season where Governor Schwarzenegger has stepped down and Governor Brown has started his tenure as the governor of our state, and he has proposed a number of budget proposals that have some very serious impacts to people who are vulnerable in the state of California. And one of the things that occurred to me as I was reviewing his initial budget proposals that were publicized on January 10th of this year, it just appears to be a situation where it's death by 1,000 cuts. The people who we support typically live on SSI, and one of the things that is being proposed is that the SSI rate be reduced from $845 a month to $830 a month. For many people, it's a situation that it wouldn't make that much difference losing $15 out of your monthly budget, but for these individuals, when you're living so close to the edge and every penny is counted, $15 makes a huge difference. If you layer that on top of the proposals that the governor has related to Medi-Cal cuts, where he's proposing things like co-pays and capping the number of doctor's appointments and capping the number of prescriptions that will be covered by Medi-Cal, and these are people who can't afford a $15 cut to their income, and now they're being asked to expend more money out of their already too small budget to live. It's very challenging and very concerning for those of us who are here to help. We are also facing some major challenges related to the funding for the services and supports themselves. What we do in our agency is we hire and train and help the individuals manage the caregivers that support them. And this is everything from toileting and showering to assisting to teach new skills such as cooking or budgeting or just any variety of things that you can imagine. Some of the folks that we support require someone with them at all times, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Other individuals have periods of time where they're perhaps on their own or out in the community doing something and they need a lesser number of hours of support. So each situation is looked at very individually. All of our services are customized to the specific needs of that individual, and we really always do have an eye for what is in the best interest of that individual, but also being mindful of the fact that we are utilizing the taxpayers' dollars to provide these services. So as I'm looking at everything related to the budget, another aspect that is also being looked at is making some very significant changes to the way funds are channeled to the individual providers in the state of California. What I don't think has had a lot of attention is the amount of dollars that are being expended at the state level down to the 21 regional centers. There is legislation that was recently proposed. It's AB 170, and there have been some challenges with Inland Regional Center, which is located in Southern California. That regional center has actually been put on probation recently because of some concerns about the way they've been expending state dollars. And the proposal in AB 170 is to split Inland Regional Center into 2 regional centers. This would be creating more bureaucratic dollars that are being expended by the taxpayers' money in a time when we are being asked as vendors and providers that are providing the hands-on caregiving to cut potentially up to 10 or 12% of our rates. At this point, there's not a lot of detailed knowledge about how those cuts are going to take place, but they are very significant dollars, $750 million in the DDS budget that is being proposed that they're cut. One of the things that I have heard as a rumor is that the inclination of our legislature is to pass the budget with the cuts in place and figure out the details later. This is a huge concern because how can we address those specific areas that we need to try and manage to maintain the level of quality of service that we're providing without knowing the detail of how those cuts are going to be implemented. So we are in a very challenging time, but the work we do is extremely important. And it is critically important that that these services and supports are maintained in some fashion for the most vulnerable people in our population. And those are people with disabilities who are typically living on SSI, on Social Security, and trying to make ends meet and have a good quality of life within those restrictions. So these are people who are working very hard to live within their means, and have a productive life, and a life where they are doing what they choose to do. And in each person, what they're interested in and what they want to do and how they want to spend their time looks very different. And that is the way all of us would prefer to live our lives, to have choice and to have flexibility. And so if there's a way to maintain those key tenets, the choice, the flexibility, the ability to live where they choose to in their home communities rather than being segregated into, you know, a specific area or a specific home, that is critically important, that those choices be offered. And as we move towards providing services to more people across the autism spectrum as they age and become adults, I think it's critically important that supported living be maintained as a viable option for these individuals, because so often the movement disorders and the type of challenges that these individuals have can be addressed on a customized level and allow for that person to have a very stable, very enriched, and a fulfilling life. Trying to have them live in an environment where there are a great deal of challenges around multiple people trying to live under one roof, or you know, trying to do any customizing in any type of a group setting is extremely challenging and can sometimes cause more problems for everyone under that roof rather than just the individual who's being impacted negatively. So many things to think about, many challenges, but one of the things that I keep reminding myself is that very often if we have to think outside the box, if we're forced to think about things differently, then we can sometimes come up with some wonderful innovations and some things that are positives. So I am hopeful that we will be able to find options and alternatives that will retain choice and flexibility and do it in a way that is beneficial for the taxpayers of the state of California as well. So I'm really hoping for the opportunity to be able to speak into the budget process as someone who provides services, and also allow for the people who are receiving the supports to speak into the process and provide their insights as far as what works and what doesn't as the budget process unfolds, so that it's balanced.